at the moment and how they're tracking the AFL. I'm wondering how you've got lots of North Melbourne fans listening in at the moment. It is 16-10. Always interested in talking to Family Planning Tasmania. The interesting thing about family planning is, even in the last 20, 30 years, the sorts of reproductive technology, contraceptions that people are talking about has changed dramatically. And so it's always interesting to catch up and find out what's new, what's being discussed at the moment, and how's Family Planning Tasmania evolving. Let's welcome its new CEO into the studio, Lalla Mackenzie, CEO of Family Planning Tasmania. Lalla, good morning to you.
Good morning, Leon.
Lovely to talk to you this morning. Thanks for being part of Mornings. And broadly, what role does Family Planning Tasmania play in people's lives?
Let me tell you, it plays such a significant role, and I'm incredibly fortunate to be leading the most amazing team that is so passionate about sexual health in Tasmania. My own journey actually started with Family Planning Tasmania when I was 16 years of age. I walked in there with my mum to find out that I was pregnant. At 17, I gave birth to my son that is now 33, and I have a 27-year-old daughter and 3 grandchildren. Family Planning Tasmania has played a significant role in my life, many people's lives in Tasmania, and just to have, it was the first time when I'd walked in there and found out that I was pregnant, and I remember it to this day. The actual nurse at the time said to me, "Your life is not over." And at that time, it was the end of the world. I was pregnant, I was 16, the rest of it. I can tell you it wasn't easy. It isn't easy ever being a parent, but particularly at that age and particularly at that time as well. I went to a school where a lot of people surrounding me were pregnant at the same age. It seemed to be quite a common practice. And to this day, we still have many people in the state that are falling pregnant at an early age. So being part of Family Planning Tasmania and coming full circle and now sitting in the seat where I get to talk about the amazing work that our crew do and our board is incredibly exciting. And I can tell you we're at our 50th year this year. We're actually celebrating our 50-year anniversary this year.
Kicked off in 1973.
We certainly did. I've turned 50 this year as well, so it's a significant year for all of us from that perspective. But I would say to you that the role that I now have to play is ensuring our sustainability for the next part of what we're hoping to achieve. And we are doing that with not only me as a new CEO, but a refreshed board with Dr. Craig White at the helm now as the chair of our board, who's had an extensive career in Tasmania from a management perspective.
Sustainability.
Yeah.
Where does the money for family? Assuming it's state government funded.
It certainly is. We do get funded from the Department of Health for across many services as well, and we also attract federal funding for some things as well, which I'm happy to talk about as well from an endometriosis perspective. A lot of it is we are a dual bulk billing service, so there is a pay portion as well, but we are able to provide bulk billing, particularly for those under 21. We can provide that service without any gap fee. But yeah, we do attract funding, and part of my role is to ensure that we are guaranteeing that funding for our team, and more importantly for those Tasmanian residents that come and see us. Currently we're seeing around 16,000 people visit our clinics and our outreach clinics across the state every year, and that's only growing every single year, particularly as we offer a wide range of services, which a lot of people are now coming to understand what we offer. We aren't just about testing for pregnancy and reproductive health and things like that. We offer STI testing. We've just received quite a significant grant for endometriosis in the state. And also you had Jane Barker on the radio the other day talking about the pelvic floor physio. We've actually secured funding from that one as well, from the Healthy Tasmania through the Department of Health throughout that funding as well. So yeah, they're the kind of services that we do offer. I find it really funny that I am now at 50, and obviously as a 50-year-old woman, I'm now going into that next stage of my life, and until I started the journey of joining Family Planning Tasmania, I had no idea that we actually talked about menopause, and it's one of the major services that we offer.
Is it really?
Yeah.
So at a time when people are starting to think about a shift, they're less likely, they're certainly still likely to be wanting to potentially control their fertility or avoid having more children potentially, or the other way around maybe, but also thinking about that sort of move into perimenopause and menopause.
Absolutely. And sexual health isn't just for the young. It's not for the middle-aged. Sexual health affects everyone. Being aware of your sexual health and being humans, sexual health is a big part of what we do as well. I think one of the big parts and the components that I really want to build over this next year is our education campaign and the education that we do within schools and across industry, and particularly focusing on the educators, the parents and the children. I mean, Leon, I know that at some stage you may have sat in a classroom like I did at Rokeby High School when I was 14, and they were talking, we had the embarrassing sex ed class where everyone was sitting there.
I had the Christian brothers teaching me sex ed back in the 80s,
Yeah.
Lalla, in the late 70s and mid 80s. I had the Christian brothers teaching me my sex education.
Well,
it's quite different maybe to what happened at rugby.
Absolutely. Well, we actually have an amazing group in our education team that we have a growing up program that runs from kindergarten right through to year 6. We then have our secondary school program, which we go in and we talk to the kids about all kinds of things, from sexual health to, consent is a huge part of the campaign that we're talking about at the moment. And I can tell you, I've been sitting in this chair for 5 weeks and I've had more occasion to blush than I ever have before as I've been learning things about my own body.
I honestly dropped into the feet. It wasn't very professional or very good parenting, but was my wife talked about the birds and the bees to she would have been, I reckon, 4 or 5. I know exactly where I was. I was at the Whale Cottage in Bicheno. Hello, Wendy and Mike. My daughter asked the question. My wife started anatomically explaining how babies were made, and I literally went into the fetal position on the floor. I need to work on my game. Do you provide advice for parents who are talking through the birds and the bees with their kids?
Let's face it, raising children, it takes a village. So we don't just educate the children because, let's face it, they're going to come home and tell you their version of what's occurred. We educate the educators that are teaching our children. We educate the parents so that they know how to have those conversations, particularly navigating, all of the things around gender and sexual health and consent these days. There's a lot to absorb, and we actually educate all sectors.
And it's changing in ways, like we like to think of ourselves as super cool parents, but the reality is that every generation will be separated in ways, mostly for the better, from their kids' generation. And so there's stuff happening now that kids are living that we perhaps don't tend to understand so well. And the genders stuff is something your kids are much more likely to encounter than we ever were going through school. So some understanding of how to talk about that and, what kids need to know and when is really interesting.
Absolutely. And I think that we'll find as parents, and particularly of the age of parents that we are, I have grandchildren that are at primary school. They're educating me in ways that I didn't even know, with new words that I didn't know, and being relevant in their lives and understanding that because they're exposed to so much more than we were at the same ages. It's really important that we're using the correct language, that we're being open about the, sexual health conversations, and really allowing people to really thrive and be themselves and understand that we're all different, but we're all the same at the same time.
Interesting that over the last 30 years, how much reproductive technology, so different forms of birth control, has really changed. I mean, condoms, the pill, but now really focused on more, what do they call it, implantable technology. So that might be IUDs or it might be implants or so on. How long till we're talking about the male pill?
The male pill is out there. They're still doing a lot of testing on it at the moment. And unlike the female pill, there are circumstances where it can actually create more problems than what they anticipated. It's been some of the studies that our doctors have educated me on over these last 5 weeks. Again, I'm not an expert in this field, and we would love to come back and talk about all kinds of contraception. And did you know, Leon, that it wasn't until the early 60s that you could even say the word contraception on the radio? Really? This is how much we've evolved, that we're now sitting here talking about these things and having these open conversations.
You're on Mornings Around Tasmania. For people that don't know, where are Family Planning Tasmania's office located? You talked about statewide. Our audience is statewide. So where are you if people want to find you, Lalla?
We're based in Glenorchy, in Burnie and in Launceston. We also have outreach clinics, and we're looking to partner with those organisations that go into the communities in the Northwest Coast and places like that, so we can have a further outreach. I would also say to you, it is our 50th year. We're just about to celebrate with an engagement at Government House. But as important to that is us thanking the community that has supported us for the last 50 years as well. And we'll be holding community events in each of our locations at our clinics. And for any information that you need about Family Planning Tasmania, we do have a website. So please go and visit that because we do offer many services that are available.
How easy is it to get appointments? Because if it's particularly a pregnancy conversation, that appointment needs to happen today or tomorrow, not in 3 weeks' time. What are your delays like if people want to come in and see a nurse or a GP?
We have the most amazing staff that work for us. So we're actually able to triage at the beginning of the conversation so that we can make those appointments. But if I was to be realistic with you, you would be absolutely able to get an appointment within 2 to 4 weeks with our service. Like the healthcare sector, though, we are straining under the weight of everyone that needs services at the moment. But I would say to you that when you do call through and we're actually talking to the amazing receptionists that we do have on, we will be able to see you in a timely manner.
So if it's about, say, a pregnancy?
Yes, we could certainly see you in a timely manner.
And more questions coming in about menopause services that you offer. So, I mean, often people discuss that with their GP, if at all. So who is coming to Family Planning Tas to talk about that?
And that's a very important point. Our clinic is staffed by GPs and trained nurses, so they're coming in to have chats about that. But it's really the unknown of it. Am I going through menopause? Are these symptoms that I'm experiencing at the moment, are they menopause? And it's about what can I do to effectively manage that menopause as it comes through. We have a great range of outreach services that we can recommend to other people as well as they are coming through.
Hey, great to talk to you this morning. Thank you. We're always looking for reasons to talk about different forms of family planning, whether that's for teens, whether it's talking about it for people sort of in their, sort of prime part of their fertility, or there's people talking about coming out the other side and through menopause and beyond. Lalla, great to meet you this morning. Thanks for being part of Mornings.
Thanks, Leon.
Lalla Mackenzie, CEO of Family Planning Tasmania. You're welcome to join us as well. Maybe we should get somebody in here. I don't know. Are you up for this? Maybe we should get someone in here to talk about sex education. What about that? I promise if we do that, I won't go fetal on the floor. But it would be good to get some tips. Like if you're a parent or a grandparent, I'm sure you're getting questions that catch you by surprise. What if, forearmed is forewarned? Is that the saying? And what if we got a little better armed for some of those questions, which can be challenging? We might see if Lalla will come back with the team and do a bit of that in the future. This is Paul Simon. You're on Mornings around Tasmania.